Pretty soon we'll have a multiverse.
Hey.
You know, there'll be a multiverse of the Sofa Kingdom podcast.
What's your special power?
Oh, I don't fucking know. Racism.
Cut it.
Welcome to the Sofa Kingdom podcast with your hosts, Ian.
Matt.
Ed.
How's everybody doing out there? It's good to be here. Good to be here. Some of us are a little rough. Some of us a little worse for wear, but we're here. We're here, ready to go.
Like Wish Nelson.
Yes.
The
Yes.
sun is up. Coffee has been drank.
It has been drunk. Well, it's
Or
in the process
in the-
of,
or the
in
process-
of being drunk. Yes. Drunk.
I
And
was
we're
in the
we're
process
missing
of being drunk last night.
and we're missing Nelson today, so everything's going to be positive. There's going to be no negativity on today's show. Nothing but information and positivity, like the last episode where he wasn't here.
Yeah,
Which was
absolutely.
the All Ed episode, I believe. I think that's what that one was.
Speaking of all Ed, the only thing I've been doing is playing Starfield.
Listen, man, I'm a member of a lot of RPG pages. I hear mixed things. What's actually going on with Bethesda's new RPG?
It is a Bethesda game. It is probably the most it is, I would say, the best game they've done. I'm only a few hours in now. So
I was gonna say,
take it for what it is.
Sir, they've made Skyrim.
In terms of what they've done,
Sure.
it's the most concise formula of what they have done. On top of that, they really did build on a lot of things, and the game is just gigantic. It really is a universe for you to go out there and explore.
Somebody said in one of the things, they said you have to beat the main game before the game actually opens up. What's that about?
Not necessarily. You want to
That seems like quite the investment.
normally when you're playing Bethesda games, you leave the main storyline to kind of dabble in as you go, doing all the side stuff.
Like Skyrim, you create your character. You're supposed to go find out why the dragon's murdering people, but you immediately forget why the main.
You
quest is, 'cause
immediately-
you walk off into the world.
Yeah, they're like, we need you to go up to the top of the mountain.
Yeah.
You're like, cool, I'm going that way.
Before you know it, you're a level 600 assassin, and you're like, oh, that's right, dragons, fuck. But you're already 100 hours into the game.
So, without giving away any spoilers, you want to do, the first half dozen main storyline missions. A lot of the main storyline, it opens up, things that you can do in traveling and abilities and things like that allow you to do the rest of the game much more easy than if you're doing it the hard way because you wandered off course right off in the beginning.
Right.
So there's that, but that's fine because most people also say this is kind of the best story they've done so far in their games. I want to say the only person I've really seen criticizing have been people that didn't like Bethesda games to begin with. In which case,
Who are
it's
they?
Bethesda.
Who the hell doesn't like Bethesda games?
They have a style of game. Surprise, you don't like their new game,
They're
which is
probably
in their
Japanese.
style of games.
They're probably Japanese.
And then the only other person that's getting a lot of criticism is one of the IGN reporters.
Listen. IGN once reviewed a Witcher season, and they said they didn't like it. This is to tell you all you need to know about IGN. They said they did not like the season because it stuck too closely to the source material.
Yeah. Good job, guys. Good job. So
I still, to this day, cannot wrap my head around that rationale. I was like,
Yeah.
how the fuck are you getting paid to do reviews?
You go to Burger King, order a Whopper, and you're like, this is as advertised. This is just
Exactly.
like the last Whopper I had.
Yeah, frankly, I thought the burger it looked too much like the picture.
Yeah.
I can't give 7 out of 5. 7 out of 10.
it tastes like all their other burgers.
Yeah.
Surprise.
So IGN, you gotta take whatever the fuck and anything that comes out that's even remotely flashy, like they'll give it a 10.
So IGN's got like a dozen outlets, and out of all of them, they've all graded it 9 or a 10, A+ game, etc. The one guy, he really dogs it pretty hard, but he's had a history in the past 2 years of constantly going after Xbox, going after Bethesda because of the merger.
He's one of my people. He's a
And
PlayStation guy.
and he talks very critically about them over the last years constantly, everywhere he goes, but praises Sony for doing all of the same things that Microsoft is trying to. So it became very much like, even if this is his honest review, his past and all of the other things he's been doing over the last 2 and 3 years makes it look very poor for why'd you pick this guy who's just been bashing them incessantly for the last 2-3 years as the guy you're going to have review the game. You should have given it to someone who could be impartial.
He probably praised Final Fantasy 16 a lot. I'm a Final Fantasy fan. I'm a PlayStation fan. You can beat that game with the square button. I put it down after like 9 hours. I was like, my fucking thumb hurts. Like I need to hit a different button.
My daughter's playing a game on her phone that I'm like, what's this game? I just see her. She'll like look up at me and talk, and she just goes like this.
Yeah.
And the whole time there's one button, and she just goes, yeah, you just hit this button and it beats
Diablo
up the character.
much?
And, yeah.
Well, there you go. Exactly. But I heard mostly the things I heard about Starfield are good. They say it's a win for Bethesda.
Yeah.
And they're putting it in the category for Game of the Year.
On Steam,
I think Baldur's Gate 3 is still probably in the lead for that,
Yeah.
based off what everybody says, because you can make love to like a bear or something. And I think that's a win.
Bear fucker.
Yeah.
in terms of right now is early access. The only people playing are people that paid extra. So on Steam, you have
You're playing.
Yeah,
Right.
you have 250,000 people who are already playing. That's just the people that paid extra to get into the game early, and you can get the game for free if you have Xbox. So these are people that are choosing to play on PC early, and that's already 250,000 people.
Holy shit.
So that's a fairly healthy chunk of people. So
But this is Bethesda.
exactly.
I mean,
So we really won't know the numbers because technically the game's not even officially launched yet.
Yeah.
This is just the early access people.
yeah. There's a lot of people that consider Skyrim their last like big game, the 5th installment in the Elder Scrolls thing. They call it the greatest game of all time.
Yeah.
And my opinion may differ in some instances. I can see the validity of that point. That game was I probably played that game more times than more time I've invested in it than any other game ever. I've bought that game 5 times.
How much time are you talking about?
I'm talking in excess of 1,000 hours easy.
Yeah.
Like not like because the different abilities you can make so many different. It's a Western type RPG.
The different pathways
Yeah.
that you can go down.
Yeah, you can create a big old Viking sword, shield, dual wield, whatever.
I'm gonna guess that's what you did.
Sometimes,
Yeah.
sometimes. But you can also create like a lizard dude that breathes underwater that literally just goes around like catching plants and fish and making poisons. And you sneak up on somebody and stab them with a little knife code and then run away and watch them die from the poison. There's so many different builds.
Yeah.
Like, it's insane, like, the amount of shit you could do in that game.
I mean,
you could play a character that never fights ever.
Yeah.
He just persuades other people to fight for him.
I've been using persuasion. I've talked down bank robbers in Starfield. Didn't have to go in there guns blazing and completely pass the mission just by using persuasion and getting them to back down and release the hostages.
You can convince people to hand you their weapons in this game.
That's crazy.
You can be like, listen, man, you don't really want to do this. And then they give you their weapon and then you kill them with their weapon.
Other spots, I landed on a space station. There's nobody to see me. I went in there, shot every person in there. Took the whole place like, mine. Your ship is mine now. Thank you. Thank you. You were away from civilization.
Is there karma?
Nobody knows this happened.
Is there karma in this game? Like, does that negatively affect
If you're in like the main cities, or if you, depending on your travelers, like if you have certain companions, they're like, yeah, let's go do that. Others are like, hey, that's not the right thing to do. So it is relevant to what companions and things like that you have following you.
So you can ruin your relationship with a decent person companion because
if you're doing the wrong things. And this one,
that sucks.
There's actual genuine RPGs. Like the things you pick in the beginning of the game matter. It gives you the way people react to you based on your background, or even conversation points that you can make based on your background.
I lost faith in humanity way back when Grand Theft Auto 3 came out. Remember way back then? And I think every kid learned like their first like lesson on like economics, like when they realized, okay, you pay the hooker for health. Because then you sleep with the hooker and your health bar goes back up. But then right afterwards, when she gets out of the car, if you drive over her with the car, the money immediately pops back out on the road and you get out and pick it up. And I like everyone's house I'd go to, that's the strategy they were doing. I was like, no one just taught like this.
That's like free health and
Free health.
extra health because you would go above your normal health bar.
Yeah, that's right. You go up to 125. You're right. Absolutely right. And people would that hooker never made it. No one ever let her walk away with her hard-earned money. They drove over her and then got the money back. Yeah, this is America.
Yeah, I feel like Bethesda games. There's no reason to not be picking up Starfield. It's fantastic. I may pick it up. I mean, I've put in probably 12 hours in the last 2 days. I had an early day Friday.
That's respectable.
Early day Friday, got out, picked up the what I needed to start playing early. Played all Friday night. Played essentially all of yesterday. Some of those hours just sitting there building a ship, rearranging, adding cargo, hidden cargo to move like illicit goods and things like that. Like the game is it's probably deeper than any of the things they've done, but they've managed to streamline some of the annoying systems and add in some things that like we could have done that a little bit better. But
is there like a weapon customization thing like from Fallout?
The weapon customization
Can you put
is
a
in
plunger
there.
like on your shotgun?
Not.
So you shoot the plunger out, pull the guy in.
You are living in civilization, so they are proper weapons. You're not using the makeshift weapons like in Fallout. So it is proper weapons that you can upgrade and things like that.
What about you, Matt? What are you playing?
Tagline: shit over here.
That's right. Yes. Are you playing any games right now, Matt, or just?
Oddly,
a guitar wizard.
No. I got that Nintendo DS hooked up at the house.
Nice. Yes, dude.
And then
I have a jailbroken one.
But it's funny because I haven't explored any of like the future stuff. It comes with all these old games, and I was like, Nintendo Baseball, and then there was Nintendo Golf on there, like the original one from the '80s. And I even taught my daughter. I was like, oh my god, this is the same game I played when I was like 7 or 8, and we got hooked and we were playing that.
I'm gonna let you borrow my. I'm gonna let you borrow my jailbroken DS that has like Pokemon like Generation 3, the whole way up to like Generation 6.
I don't know anything about Pokemon.
You will know all of it by the time
when they announced that they were going to be making new versions of that console, people deliberately went and bought ones and kept them in the box for the future when their current one breaks.
Right.
Because of the games that are on it and the fact that Nintendo almost never updates those games and brings them forward to the next console. Yeah. So you might have some of your favorite games, and you'll never be able to play them unless you have that console and that cartridge.
Yeah, or just because you can play old games, sometimes you don't need anything else. Like a lot of the times, I find myself playing games from 20 years ago because of how good they are. And
we went on. Then it went to like Street Fighter 2. Like opened that one up. That was
classic,
fantastic.
Super Street Fighter 2. That's another game I dumped hundreds of hours into.
Yeah, that was it. Super Street Fighter 2.
That's so good. So fucking good. Me, I'm playing Persona 5 Royale again. Why? Because I got tired of pressing square in Final Fantasy 16. Sick and tired of it. But, however, as soon as I am done with Persona 5 Royale, I'm going to play Sea of Stars. It came out August 29th, and it's an old-style RPG, but it's a brand new game. You can play it on Xbox, PlayStation Plus, all that. You can download it. But it looks like...
free on Xbox, but go ahead.
Well, then play it, dickhead.
I got Starfield.
And let me know how the fuck it is.
I think I got my gaming set for the next year.
Okay, well, I'm gonna download Sea of Stars because I'm not going back to Final Fantasy 16. It's beautiful. The cinematics and shit are amazing, but you press fucking square, bro. You press square. Like Final Fantasy. I'm gonna be honest here. Like they're probably my favorite my favorite RPG chain of all time, but they've dropped the ball after 12. They haven't had a good battle system since 12.
It's a delicate balance of adding in new features without going so far as to remove what was good about your previous game.
Final Fantasy 16 is a Lamborghini Aventador that only goes 45 miles an hour. That's what the fuck it is. So what is the point? Just because you make something beautiful and it's amazing to look at doesn't mean it's fun to actually be in. I mean,
Diablo.
People are still passing you. People are still passing you.
That's like a lot of women on Instagram.
Absolutely, yes. It's like a 9.6 out of 10. That just dead fishes it. Dead fish. And then you ask for head, and it's just a cheese grater.
You can't handle this.
She has 4 rows of teeth. Yeah, I don't want to handle it.
Where'd you get extra teeth from?
How do you have 4 rows of teeth? It's just more. And you think when you get past the teeth, the throat, you're good. More teeth, whole way down the esophagus. Fuck this. I'm out. We'll go home. So yeah, I want to see what Sea of Stars is like. Shay's an old RPG fan. So he is playing Sea of Stars. He likes that. He downloaded WrestleQuest. That RPG is based off like old pro wrestlers.
Yeah.
And he even though IGN gave it a horrible review.
Awesome.
Yeah, you study under Macho Man Randy Savage, Andre the Giant, and you learn different moves based on who
critics
you study
pan
under.
the A-Team as well.
That is true. That is true. I haven't trusted critic reviews since the Green Knight movie. The Green Knight was this movie that came out years ago based on an Arthurian legend, one of King Arthur's knights.
Yes.
And the movie, the critics gave it 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I'm like, holy shit. And a King Arthur fantasy movie that got 100% on Rotten Tomatoes. I didn't even look at the user reviews. I saw the movie. It's a pile of shit. It was a pile of shit from start to finish. It was a very visually beautiful pile of shit, but a pile of shit nonetheless. I'm not a film critic. I don't go to movies because of cinematography. Go fuck yourself. I want to enjoy myself.
That's why
I hated that movie.
They say that musicians have the worst taste in music, driving instructors are the worst drivers, and hairstylists have the worst hair. It's just
Well, music at least, like I don't know. As long as music makes me feel something, whether it be sad, angry, whatever, I like music.
But I'm saying a music expert and critic, a lot of times they're like,
oh yeah,
they're beyond that. Versus sometimes, like you guys talk about movies, it's okay to have a movie that just stands on its own and it was fun to go watch and blah blah blah. Same, like listen to it with your simplest ears and go, this is great music.
Well, yeah. Well, like I watched.
Don't go, oh, they're using these chord progressions and that's unique. And yeah, but does it sound good?
Does it sound good?
Yeah.
Is it an enjoyable song from the time you hit play to the time it ends?
Yeah.
I mean, I watched Oppenheimer. Was it an exciting movie? No. I mean, other than the bomb going off, there's very little drama and
don't ruin it for me, man.
I'm just saying that the whole movie is the story of Oppenheimer. It's his weird relationships, how smart he was, how odd he hit Einstein. There's all kinds of people popping up in this fucking movie, and there's an article like a couple days ago or like a week ago that said like how Logan Paul said he got up and walked out of the movie. Logan Paul. And
Yeah.
He said, it's just a bunch of people talking. It's like, well, yeah, dick. Like, what the fuck did you think you were going to see? Like,
What's funny is
not Transformers.
People really took that to heart, and then he was on Andrew Schultz's show. He's like, I'm not a critic. Don't follow me for movie reviews.
Right.
It's just not the movie I expected. I was bored, and I left.
Yeah. It's not Logan's fault. Logan Paul is not known for his.
I can appreciate that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'd walk out too if it wasn't. I didn't have the mental capacity to enjoy it.
I lost respect for some of the reviews when Hogwarts Legacy came out, and IGN.
Oh, that was biased though.
Gave it a 1 out of 10, and then did a dissertation on J.K. Rowling instead of talking about the actual game. Like, you were supposed to review the game.
Yeah.
Not the lady who had nothing to do with making the game. Not any of the people who created or
that whole
spent.
That whole thing was political as hell.
You know, the people that started making the game before she said what she said that you disagree with, started the game years before and have been working on it forever. And those 1,000 or so people, you're kind of fucking them over.
Yeah, let's keep in mind they're a small studio. They're an independent studio that's making this.
It was their first fucking game.
Refresh my memory. What did she say again?
Trans women are not women.
Oh, okay.
Yes, and
now here's the thing she also did was she
had a health center right in England.
Well, there's several things. She's like, hey, love whoever you love. This is this. If I'll stand with you for this, I'll stand with you for this, I'll stand with you for this. But certain things, there's a line kind of that you can't cross. And when you start getting into certain women's issues, you don't have the parts.
Yeah.
And you're undoing things that's spent forever to do. But she had a women's shelter that she's been keeping open for like 2 decades.
With her money, by the way.
With her money, because it closed down. So it's a battered women's shelter. No men are supposed to be allowed. And they made a big...
Usually, 99% of the time, the people that have battered these women
are men. She's like,
Yeah.
these are people that are scared to be around men. And they have nowhere else to go. There already is a shelter in the city for trans women. You don't have to come to this shelter. Right. You have a shelter.
Yeah.
So forcing yourself into this shelter isn't helping the people who are trying to get help because you don't want to go over there where they built you a shelter.
Yeah. Long story short, when the trans people found out, oh, we can't go to this shelter for regular, run-of-the-mill, straight out of the factory women...
But
they got pissed off, and they
the-
began to boycott everything Hogwarts.
But
everything,
some-
And then the
Harry Potter.
vegans showed up.
That's right. It
Some-
became a mess.
Some of it is she's got enough money where she doesn't have to take their shit. So they'll say something and she'll troll them right back online. Yeah. She has no problem with saying some
Yeah, I've seen some of the comments.
some
she fires
trolly
back.
shit online, and it's clear where she's just like, whatever.
Fuck
Different
you.
generation too.
Kind of
and
content
she's-
that she's putting out there where it's like, you're being shitty, I'll be
All
shitty.
right, so they panned that game because
So
because of what she
The
said.
game
because
still
she
was a massive success
the game
because
was a
people
tremendous
actually played it.
success.
but the review was.
Oh yeah, they tried
They
to shit can it before it
Yeah.
was even out.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, so this
Everyone that played it enjoyed
this
it.
is
I don't
just
know anyone that played Hogwarts Legacy and hated it.
really poorly done review from IGN, because I want to say it was IGN that did the Hogwarts Legacy one as well, where it's like you're getting someone who's not impartial to do the review, and instead we're getting a review that's about other shit than the game. We're here to hear about the game.
I feel like that's something that like anyone that's in a position where their decision directly affects the quality of something, like whether you're a fight judge, whether you're a movie critic, a film critic, whatever, a food critic, a video game reviewer.
Yeah.
I feel like you have to leave, as difficult as it may be sometimes, you have to leave everything at the door and do your job.
Yeah.
Well,
Because it's your job to honestly tell the public what this is. Who gives a shit? Like, if Adolf Hitler had a steakhouse, all right? Now, let's say this. Adolf's, all right? And it's in Berlin. And everyone's
Where
talking
is
about
this going?
I'm just saying.
I'm clenching my ass.
My personal views aside, if I am a food critic and they pay me to go to this restaurant and give an honest review of Adolf's food,
Yeah.
I may not be the biggest fan of Mr. Adolf.
Yeah.
However, if he makes me a steak, Kobe beef Chateaubriand, and I eat that steak, I'm going to give an honest review on it. And I tell you what, I might say, owner was a dick, but my Kobe beef Chateaubriand was to die for.
I would hesitate. I would ask where the materials were coming from for said
I
steak.
would too. However,
Fuck.
Yeah, like it's one thing
eat it, Adolf.
if she wanted to do something dealing with J.K. Rowling in conjunction with the game coming out. Perfectly fine. Absolutely fine. In fact, you could even put it at the top of your game review or at the bottom of your game review and say, hey, the game review is over in this direction at the opening of the article. But I also wrote something because this pertains to me in my own opinion piece attached with the game review.
Right.
Perfectly acceptable. As long as you're separating, here's the game review from my own personal feelings.
Right.
Then everything's nice and clear. Hey, great. Not a problem. You're entitled to your opinion. You're entitled to put your opinion out there. But when you're being asked to do a job, and your job is the review of the thing, and instead you hand in an opinion piece about the creator of the world and not even the creator of the game, because none of what she was saying dealt with the people that made the game, were publishing the game, were actors in the game. None of that. It was only about the creator of the world.
Right.
So it has zero to do with the game other than she created the world that the game is based off of. It really just doesn't look good when you're like, here's our game review.
No,
but that's not a game review.
It's not.
Right.
You didn't review the game at all. You gave your political opinion, which is not what we came here for. That's not why we clicked in this article.
I don't mind you putting your opinion below it, above it, whatever. Point to wherever the relevant part I came
You
here
put
for.
asterisks next to the review, but give the game its due credit.
Put
Yeah,
out a personal
absolutely.
podcast if you want to share that opinion.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There
That's
could have
what
been
this is
trans
for.
people that worked on that game.
There was trans characters in the game.
Oh,
Now they're
well,
out of
there.
work.
They were
Yeah.
Look what you
attached to
did.
the
That's what
main
you fucking did.
that was attached to the main
Shame.
storyline. I thought it was well done. But
So now IGN is the Ignorant Gamers Network. There we go. Now we know for sure. They did not see the repercussions of their actions.
No.
Not at all.
that's where a lot of journalism unfortunately has been going.
Oh, I don't believe journalism exists anymore.
Yeah, that's a good point.
I don't think it's a. I mean, I feel bad for people that go to school for like a journalism degree, but I don't think it's a real like profession that one can go into anymore because I don't really know where you go anymore to get non-biased.
The lines between
It's
just
impossible.
Roca News.
Podcast.
Do you follow Roca News? Ride the News.
I do not.
They're fantastic. They're like three guys who started a news network. They're on Instagram. They have their own app now.
Oh wow.
I follow, and it literally their goal was, we hate that it's polarizing people. They just give facts. Every day there's about 4 main news stories just on Instagram, but then their app is much further, more extensive, but it will just say points. This is what happened in Hawaii. The fire
Right.
started this. There's a certain amount of people missing, blah, blah, blah. Like, and then they leave it. And it's just,
because you can't
you
can't
take
get
this
that straight
information.
anywhere
Correct.
else.
Right.
It's
If you're on
supposed
MSNBC, it'll if like say the governor's liberal or Democratic or whatever. MSNBC will talk about the great efforts the governor is doing to do this. Whereas if you go to Fox News, they'll talk about how he missed this, and this.
Yeah.
And he's responsible for the fire.
Right.
And it's supposed to be
You can't get
delivering
anything
the facts for
Yeah.
you to make
Determined.
an informed decision
Highly
about what is
recommend
happening.
it.
Not
Now-
sugarcoat the facts or hide certain things, omit certain
Now
things.
it's
to make
giving
things look better.
it's giving some of the facts, but really only the facts that line up with your particular opinion. And then you end up having to go to 3 different places to hear everything that happened.
Right.
And it is really kind of sad.
Back when I had cable news, I would watch the BBC. And the reason I would watch the BBC is it was British news.
Same
I would get news.
Same as your internet search.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Same. Exactly same. BBC, I just had the buttons like taped down. I didn't have to hit nothing. But because I knew that I was going to get, even though the guy telling me the news that was happening in my country was British, I knew he didn't give a fuck. The story was literally presented how it should be
The
presented.
only thing he cared about was delivering the facts because it wasn't affecting
Right,
him.
he doesn't have to worry. He has to worry about Parliament. He doesn't give a shit about what's happening over here.
Yep.
He would tell me what was happening straight up,
Yeah,
and that's just the way.
there's a few spots.
It's a shame. I would sometimes, and I'm not proud of this. I would turn on Al Jazeera. You know,
Well, at one
because
point,
that would give me a completely different opinion.
the reality is at one point they had really good Al Jazeera, and there were several others where they had really good reporters. And since they were working for a different government, it became where they were able to just deliver the facts.
Yeah.
But as the years have gone on, where our news has become more opinion pieces, they've been getting pushed themselves, and you'll see it with some of the reporters leaving. Like, we were great for X number of years. Then they started leaning on what direction they wanted to and I had to get out of there. And you hear from several reporters from not just Al Jazeera, but also from
There was another one,
a
Japan.
Russian.
There was a Japan one I would watch too.
Yeah.
And it was funny to see how world stories were all coming from different news things.
I only get the news on Telemundo.
But
Yeah, that's
why.
fine, man. I don't speak Spanish.
there's
No habla.
there's some places
don't
now
either.
like Breaking Points and The Hill where they strive to get people from both sides.
Right.
And then also the middle, and this and that, and that way, you're dealing with okay. Well, I know he has, and he'll outright say, "I am more of a Republican," and this one say, "I'm more liberal. I'm more,"
Right.
and they'll all talk about the thing, so that you're getting multiple perspectives from different viewpoints, at least all in the same spot.
Yeah, I completely shifted. I know in 2008, I was like a completely like leaning left, bleeding heart liberal. And then as life went on, as I got older, different things happened. I moved to Florida.
Well,
now I'm a registered Republican in the state of Florida, and my views are more conservative. But I'm like, I don't know.
Here's
I'm
the
like
thing
this,
that a
in the
lot of
middle.
people are missing is most people stayed where they were at. And then the left and the right just started going to the fringe
So
edges.
extreme, yeah.
Yeah.
And you're like,
Where the
well,
fuck-
I'm still here.
Yeah.
Where
Yeah.
the fuck are you
Agreed.
guys going?
where are you guys headed?
Agreed.
That's
I'm
really
still
what
right here.
that's where a lot of
Yeah.
it ended up really happening, where they started catering to the fringe audiences because they always tune in.
What we need is
and
just Joe
those
Rogan.
are their numbers.
Joe Rogan needs to run for office. Is what he needs to do.
Yeah.
And then we just vote him in. Everybody just does DMT and takes ice baths. and we're fine.
He's got too much money to care about
Oh
running
yeah,
for office.
yeah. He doesn't give a shit. He's got everything figured out.
He and JJ Watt.
Mm-hmm.
You know JJ Watt. Yeah.
Yeah, JJ
He's-
should be his dude, the
would
biggest
be-
vice president ever.
Yeah, I mean, the guy just does. Actions speak louder than words. Like he's done so many like humanitarian efforts every time there's a disaster.
Well, they said what's his name? Oh my God, with the Jocko Willink, the
Yeah.
Navy SEAL commander.
yeah.
He was talking about running, and he asked Joe like jokingly, he's like, "Would you be my vice president?" Joe's like, "God damn it, like I don't want to do that." Like, come on, man. But Jocko's definitely got my vote. Like, holy shit.
My guess is that they
There's
get
no better
elected,
leader of men.
and you're like, you just go business as usual. Joe could just do his podcast. They I mean, you do like one public appearance every once in a while, but it's like
Just rename it Joe Rogan's presidential
Yeah.
report.
I just like there'd be no like debate on whether or not that like our country has a strong like international military like schematic setup when you have like the former Navy SEAL commander as our fucking commander in chief. Like, oh my God. I think he'd shut down the whole Ukraine situation in a matter of a month. Like
Yeah.
he'd just have it all. He went on one time and he released a video about what he would do. He talked about like the ships he would have in the northern Baltic Sea and everything. And I was like, God damn, dude! Like the way he explained it, he was like, "I would cripple Russia's infrastructure within a matter of hours." I'm like, "Oh my god! Like, what the fuck?"
They
man?
said
Like,
that U.S. military, like before media was ever involved, it was operations were always about like winning the battle and doing what's best for it. And there was suddenly the Vietnam situation where
Yes.
suddenly it was on TV and there was actual strategies that were like, well, will this look best on TV?
Yeah.
What
Yeah.
will do that? And suddenly it was like they were
yeah.
just
I
failed
forget-
mission
I
after failed mission because it was like our goal is just to look good on TV, not to actually
Yeah.
win this battle.
I forget who it was. It was either Khrushchev or Gorbachev, but it was a Soviet leader that said that media is the most underutilized weapon in war.
Yeah.
Because it can completely cripple your country's drive to do something from the inside out.
I mean, look
If
how
it-
bad Russia looks to the rest of
the
the
world.
world with everything that's
with
happening
everything they
in
do,
Ukraine.
with everything they do, you're right. And like, look what happened to our
and
men
another
and women
and,
in Vietnam.
Another
Yeah.
another
They came home, they were called baby
another
killer.
political
I mean,
opponent magically died in a plane crash. Oops.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
who believes that fucking plane accidentally went down right after takeoff in Moscow, a major city? Get
Oh
the
man,
fuck
that
outta
that
here.
mechanics got fired.
That dude was dead before that plane even hit the ground, and we all fucking know it. You just can't see the bullet hole in his head because of the plane crash. And the bodies were immediately extracted for examination.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. You mean dipped in acid. All right.
Yeah.
got it. Okay. I'm learning to speak Russian. I'm sorry. I'm picking it up little by little. But no, I mean, that's what people don't realize is like the reason that the fallout and the way people backlash soldiers after Vietnam was because that's the first time we saw war on TV televised.
Yeah.
Like, if we could have seen what was going on in World War II on a daily basis, it'd have been the same thing.
It's horrific.
When you go to war, horrific shit happens.
Yeah.
It brings out the worst in men, whether they're good or bad.
Yeah.
And the answer
You
is
have to make choices between horrific,
yes.
results or slightly less horrific results.
Yes.
And those are your only two options.
And the reality is, a lot of times you're choosing, am I gonna go home or am I not?
Yeah.
Yes.
And what do I have to do to go home?
Here's what happens, and I'm all for okay, the Geneva Convention, rules of war, obviously, but here's the thing: when you go to war, this is why I'm so anti-war. This is why I'm anti-war until it's no other option. When you
Right.
go to war, you take the gloves off.
Yeah.
You take the gloves off and you win the damn war. And so people need to understand that when you vote for war, when war happens, bad shit happens.
Yeah. The problem is
All the worst things that
Yeah.
you're thinking of in your head, it happens.
the problem is
It
the people
happens.
voting for war are never
It's
the
your-
people that go to war.
Absolutely not.
Especially now. Like back then, there was special rules for. Well, you don't hit the commanding officers. They don't get touched.
Oh,
No, they get-
that's Revolutionary War
Yeah.
shit right there.
So even all the way
Stop
back
shooting
then,
officers.
like no,
Yeah.
you can't
Fuck you.
you can't touch them. Even now, it's like they're not even close to the battlefield. With telecommunications, they're so far away. They don't even have to worry about that. They're even remotely
War
in
is
danger.
old men talking and young men dying. That's what it is. That's what it always has been. Can you imagine that? How the fuck do people fight like that? Like in the Civil War and the Revolutionary War, where they would just line up,
Stand in line.
like from us to that closet, and they're looking at each other, and they're like just reloading these like muskets. Fuck that! Oh my god!
I never understood too, like when you can hear and you are so close in this line that you can clearly hear their command. I'm like, when they go, ready, aim,
Lay down.
fire. Yeah, do you not duck?
Yeah.
Do you not just lay down and make a smaller target? They just like,
I think
okay, yeah, just take it.
I think
Fuck
part
that,
of
dude. I
part of
couldn't
the
do that.
problem
I
was
couldn't fucking do
those
that.
Well,
old rifles were so bad to aim.
Oh,
Oh, yeah.
It's
well,
like they just learned that they could rifle
they
the
were a
barrel.
ball. Yeah, and
Yeah.
they didn't spin. They would just. Whoosh.
So the mechanics of it was almost random. Where it's
Yeah.
like, we might as well just stand in line because it's fucking random whether who's getting hit or not.
Oh right.
Then you hear fixed bayonets, and now your asshole gets even tighter. It's like, oh no, now I'm gonna get stabbed in the face.
Now we got to get close.
Yeah,
Oh,
exactly.
Yeah.
And some people, mainly the Southern soldiers, they didn't have the funding that the North did, so they would just use the musket as a club. We're just gonna cave your head in with
Jesus.
a wooden butt. So it was not good. Like I mean, like if you look at like the battles of like, well, where I'm from, Pennsylvania, where Gettysburg is,
Yep.
you hear about little Round Top and shit. You hear about the fighting of like the General Chamberlain and the unit from Maine on the hill and shit. Just ridiculous. They're ridiculous battles and shit. Devil's Den, Pickett's Charge.
First battle, there were like people of the town came out to just watch the battle. They thought they were gonna smoke the South
Yeah.
so easily.
Yep.
And then all of a sudden they saw the
Well,
North got routed.
Yeah,
and people
the,
were like
the fighting
"Whoa,"
spirit.
they
Of
ran
the
for
fighting
hills.
spirit of the men from the South is definitely something that the North did not plan for. And the one thing is, General Lee was the best general in the entire Civil War, and he was like this is why I'm always against it. They say, "Oh, tear his statue down." General Lee is one of the greatest generals, if you look at his record, that the country has ever had. And that's everyone. I'm putting him up against Patton. I'm putting him up against every general of the United States. He was top of his class from West Point.
You can't
President Grant, leader of the Union.
Yeah. You can't just
Last.
tear everything down and
He was a
hide
drunk.
and hide the past. Granted, some of those statues, they should have been moved to a museum.
Right.
And here's a wing of what happened in the Civil War. Especially most of the statues that they were going after, because they were put up not directly after the Civil War, but they were put up when people were fighting for their rights,
You know
and
where
it was a way to.
They should stay up on actual battlefields where the men fought. Anyone that says, tear that statue down, is like, oh, wait a minute, hold on. that dude was here.
Yeah.
That dude was here on this battlefield and fought here. Like, no.
I would
you
say
don't take a statue
the
down.
ones that were put up immediately following the war, because they were genuine monuments to the people that lost their lives. And the war is different compared to the ones that were put up when people were fighting for their right to vote and fighting for their right to be accepted as human beings as well.
Right.
You know, those rush job, shitty ones that they put up to insult the people in their town. That
if you put it up in the town square and like people that live there have to look at it every day.
Those are different than the actual
I get it. Like,
but
fuck.
At this point, things change. Take them down, put them up in a museum where they belong. Have something about the history of who this person was, even why it was put up.
Yeah,
that's perfectly fine. But the idea of like destroy it all, that history shouldn't be taught or explained or examined. You can't do that. You can't move forward by hiding the past of what actually happened.
If you forget the past, you're doomed to repeat it.
And let's not forget, nobody's perfect. Even Jesus Christ lost his temper in the
flip the table.
Yeah, flipped it. I'm like, even so, every human being is going to have their little asterisk. I remember sitting with my grandma, who's one of the first women to graduate from Marquette Law School. Very intelligent woman. And super sweet. And she would tell me stories about like people around our hometown, and she'd be like, "Oh yeah, this person, this," and sometimes she would throw in there like, "Oh yeah, this happened," and he was a womanizer, and he, but the funny thing is, it was like as she threw that, she would know that, but then it was like, it wouldn't ruin the entire person. It's just recognizing that they're not perfect, and it's just part of the story. But it's like, I'd rather know the story and know what the hell's going on with these people, and maybe why. I always
use that as like a line whenever one of my boys and shit is like having like a bet. Like, man, I don't feel like I'm good enough. I'm like, hey, dude, Martin Luther King and JFK both cheated on their wife. Chill out, man. Nobody's fucking perfect. Like, you know what I mean? I was like, JFK was cheating on his wife, and the woman he was cheating with popped out of his birthday cake in front of his wife.
Oh my God.
I mean, it was a different time. Like,
yeah, that's right.
I played at Trump, down West Palm,
right
by a gun club.
Yes,
road.
off Gun Club Road.
When I played there, so we played the first hole. We had a great caddy that day who was telling us a lot of stories, and he goes, we finished by the first green, and it's right by the airport too. And you finish by the first green, and you're going to the second tee, and there's a cart path splits. Cart path goes this way, and then there's one that goes down to the right, and there's a big like arched door, like with wooden, very nice like wooden frame that looks like it would just open like this.
Yeah,
I'm sure it did. And he goes, "You know what that's for?" I'm like, "No." He goes, they had that installed during the JFK thing where he would come for a round of golf in the morning, tell his wife that he was there. He would shoot down a cart, go right to the airport, go over to like the Bahamas or something like that, meet Marilyn Monroe, and then come back in the afternoon, like after a little romp sesh.
Oh, dude.
It's crazy.
They don't make presidents like JFK anymore, right?
Oh, my God. Yeah, I mean, I don't condone that kind of shit.
Can you imagine just being at a presidential procession with your wife, and the woman you're having an affair with that everyone knows you're having an affair with pops out of the cake and sings you happy birthday in like a seductive dress? Yeah. God damn it. God damn it. Like, to be alive in that time. Like, what? And Marilyn Monroe, let's have a moment for her. Like, who she have? Joe DiMaggio. Like, she had so many people. God bless her. She went through all the American icons.
She was an Instagram model before Instagram.
Yes. And his brother. She's not only slept with JFK, she banged Bobby Kennedy too.
Wow.
Good Lord.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Congratulations,
She's
Bobby.
yeah. And thank you, Marilyn Monroe. Isn't there like another Kennedy running for president now? There's another senator. Or something
Yeah.
I heard him on Rogan.
He's actually good. That's the thing. He's a Democrat technically, but I like what he's saying.
I do too.
He
had a lot of good points.
I'm a fan.
If you haven't heard that episode of Rogan, you should listen to it.
No, it's a good one.
Okay.
It's a good one. Yeah. What's amazing now though is
you better be careful though.
Since he's not towing the established Democrat line, all of his interviews are starting to get taken down.
And he won't get support.
Right.
He won't get funding from the machine.
Interviews that were done like a year ago, all of a sudden got flagged and pulled off
Of
YouTube,
course.
and things started getting pulled off Instagram. And it's like, well, this was already up here for a year. You're pulling it down now because of
Because
what?
an election's coming.
Yeah.
Oh, because something's coming, and because
Just like something else is coming back.
Yeah.
Yes. I see masks in stores again. It
oh.
must be election season.
Because we have not learned our lesson. We haven't looked through the research and realized for regular average citizens, it didn't do shit.
I've had it 4 times. Listen, get your I went to work. Shut up. Get your immune system up. It's been out for almost 4 years now. If you haven't ate a steak and ran up a hill by now, fuck.
I had got the first shot, and about a month or so later, got COVID.
Right.
Then I had my booster.
Yep.
And again, about 6 weeks later, got it again. So they did a tremendous job. And this is nothing.
They did a tremendous job.
That's nothing against the standard vaccines that we know and understand that work.
Right.
That's more of this is a new style of thing that they reclassified what a vaccine was to get this under the bar of what a vaccine is. It doesn't mean it's not an effective treatment or that it won't be one in the future, but to speed run new technology without the standard safety protocol of what you would do for something like that.
My asshole hasn't felt the same since the shot, so I don't know what's up with that.
I personally think it actually could be an okay vaccine. It could be work just fine, do its job. My problem is I think in order to try to get people to take it, I don't think the tests are effective at all. No. I think it picks up almost anything personally, and it just goes, oh yeah, that's corona. That's
the thing is
COVID.
They rushed it, so they didn't do the standard testing, but it's a very targeted style of way the vaccine works, which is great if you know exactly what to target. But viruses are not like bacteria. Bacteria take a long time to change. Viruses change very, very rapidly. RNA and DNA
and use your own cells to replicate.
And in election years.
Yeah. RNA and DNA are very different. So RNA, which is viruses, shifts so fast that by the time they have it figured out with a standard style of vaccine,
it's adapted.
It's moved on.
Yeah.
So it just that technology doesn't keep up.
That's why your flu shot changes every year.
Exactly. So this was something that could target it because they could be very specific. But it doesn't work as well because it's so specific. Whereas your body, when it finds the thing, it's very broad. It takes all of the various items and it collects all of that as here's a potential thing, versus that new style of vaccine, which only takes one thing. So it ends up getting around the vaccine faster because it's only targeting a singular item versus what a standard vaccine, which targets a dozen items.
Yeah, my don't get me wrong, I'm a healthcare provider.
I am not a virologist. This is just based on the science under the way that
I have no expertise
understand
whatsoever.
There you go.
Yeah.
I don't even know why I'm here.
Like Ed, I am for vaccines. They've helped. They've saved millions of lives throughout the years, and they do help. There are certain vaccines it's a good idea to get because it takes
undoubtedly the population of the planet would not be nearly as big if we didn't have them.
Absolutely, and I adopt a different strategy when it comes to this. Like I don't even get the flu shot when it comes out every fall. Like my thing is just try to eat healthy, try to exercise, try to get outside. I eat ass. I try to expose myself to different things to make my immune system strong.
It's a proper risk mitigation if you fall under the category of someone who's already high risk because of other issues.
Absolutely. If you have like HIV or you have some kind of like autoimmune disease or something that makes you immunocompromised, then then the shot is probably your best bet because you can't be doing these things. You eat ass, that's the last ass you're going to eat. So, there's certain, that's why these shots exist. But for people that are able to get healthy, like if you're fat or something, stop it. the fuck you do things that this is going to kill you. Like it's a respiratory
That was
thing.
the irony of like going in when this thing was kind of coming to a head early 2020. I was like, that was what I thought. People talked about like it affecting your breathing and stuff like that. I'm like, this should be the call to everyone to go, you know what? Let's start eating
Now's the
healthier and
time, yeah.
exercising.
What's amazing-
Get those lungs stronger, get your heart stronger, and be prepared for this more than instead of just it's the American easy way out. Just dude, shoot this in your arm and you're all
You'll be
set.
safe. You'll be safe.
Yeah.
But what's amazing is the people that were saying that, hey, the healthier you are, the better. Exercise, take your vitamins, eat better, and you'll do better.
Yeah.
Were being shut down. Like you weren't allowed to say, hey, your decisions have repercussions and you need to start making better decisions.
Yeah, no.
You weren't allowed to do that.
Every now and then there is an outlier though, because I remember I used to see people like on ventilators and they were like younger and in better shape than me, and I was like, what the fuck? But then again, there's outliers in everything.
Yep.
Like there's
You probably put
seven,
him there.
There's there's like 7-year-old kids that get cancer, and you're like, how?
Yeah.
How did this happen?
I want to
How?
say a lot of the young people, if I remember the article correctly, it was a overly dramatic immune response. So it ended up being your immune reacted to it in a way that was so strong that is what ended up being the thing that hurt them. Was their body recognized there was a problem and it ramped up so hard.
Sometimes your body's immune response can kill you.
Like
Inflammation,
asthma,
fever,
like
yeah.
extreme cases. It's just
Fever, fever, for example. Your fever is your body trying to kill whatever is bugging it.
Yeah,
So your body raises the temperature up to 105, you fucking die. That's just you know.
The reality is, even especially things like fever now, the research is coming out that, hey, if it's a mild to low-grade fever and you can deal with it, don't take medicine.
Yeah.
Because your body is doing what it's supposed to do to handle the situation.
Yeah, give them ice pops.
Yeah.
Do what
you don't want to
I
let your...
always tried to. I
don't
was
wanna,
always
like-
told to like sweat it out. I wrapped myself up and like
Yeah.
brought the temperature up, and I seemed to like.
Yeah,
I was over it faster.
You don't want
Yeah.
your
I
brain
don't know
to
if that's
Sometimes-
supposed
cook.
to be what
Sometimes
you're
you
supposed
do. Sometimes
Yeah.
you do sweat it out.
Yeah, but your body's doing what it's supposed to. You're kind of supposed to let it right out as long as you're not hitting too high of a temperature where you got to worry about other dangers.
Once you start to get to like over 101, you start creeping up on 102, then we got a problem. Then we got to worry about trying to get this fever down, because once it gets like too high,
But it's
then
like,
now we're talking brain damage.
Hey, surprise.
Seizures.
Oh, that's why.
Yeah. You wrapped yourself too tight, man.
Oops.
Yeah, surprise, we made it this long with an immune response that isn't killing us. That's, I mean, who would have guessed that?
No
I mean,
way.
Like
No fucking
inflammation when you hurt yourself, like your body is doing a thing for a reason, and mitigating it isn't necessarily your best first option.
This is probably going to be a really fun election year, though. I just for some reason, I look forward
Oh
to it.
my
I look forward to
God.
it because it's going to be because of the hilarity that ensues. I like when funny candidates run. Like I love it. I fucking love it.
There was another great story that Caddy told when we were at Trump, and again, here's the thing. Like a lot of times, I'm a Trump fan, but I think he's a total asshole. I don't like, and a lot of times people are surprised to say this. No, but I just kind of personally think I'm like, but how many people really like their boss? You know what I mean?
I think you got a point
And
there.
so, like, I always say I would tell my kids, like, if I got to have dinner with Trump, I would tell them that I ate dinner with the president. I wouldn't say I had dinner with Trump so much.
Right.
But so this story the caddy told, because and I personally know about it because the girl who ended up winning this tournament, Julieta Granada, she was a girl that worked up at the academy. Super nice girl, amazing backstory from Paraguay, by the way. But so they were going to have the first $1 million challenge for the LPGA Tour. They invited 30 girls from the LPGA Tour. Trump is putting up the money, winner take all. So they had never. This is 2007 or 8. They had never played for that kind of money. I mean, for $1 million. So these girls came and they came to play Trump course to really get to know it in advance. And one thing they ran into that they never would have thought, the prison is right there.
Yeah.
And so what happened was these
know what you're
girls
talking
are
about.
these girls are out there, and they're, a lot of them very fit, short skirts, Asian. They were getting catcalled through the window, hey, and some nasty shit. I mean, they're not.
Yeah.
So
They're in
no,
prison.
it's
Yeah,
not like
what are you gonna do?
It's not like what you see in cartoons, like, hey,
No.
Hey, sweet
no.
cheeks.
He was probably saying the worst shit
Correct.
ever.
So here's the question.
fucking
This is
suck.
what I loved how the caddy told me this story. He goes, okay, so you potentially have this problem because they're going to mic up these holes and you might catch these comments as they're on this coverage. How are you going to solve this? What would you do? You are Trump. It's your golf course. You're hosting this challenge. How do you solve this?
I would say you couldn't mic up necessarily the audience, but if you use the right type of mic, you can have just the competitors or the person locally talking to individual people in the crowd, and it won't catch all the way to the background. But then you don't have the cheers and applause of everybody when they're taking their shot.
Yeah.
I say we do mandatory executions for anyone that yells.
Okay. So my personally said, I go, well, I guess you go talk to the warden and talk to, and he goes, well, that's what everyone says. He goes, and they're going to turn and you go, dude, we're just trying to not get people killed.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, day to day, our lives are on the line, and so are all these prisoners we're responsible for. Fuck you.
Yeah,
He
we're
goes,
keeping tensions
so
down.
That's not what
Yeah.
he did. He went in and he said, I want to have a meeting with all the alpha males on every single floor. Tell me. So he had the individual alpha male, the prisoners, because he knows who is actually in charge in the prison. He had a meeting with them. And he said, hey, if I don't hear a peep out of those windows at all, I'm going to outfit each one of these floors with flat screen TVs. And so for less than $5,000, because that was the cost that he could with all his hotels.
Yeah.
For the cost of $5,000, he didn't hear one fucking problem, because those guys, the alphas, went in there, goes, you fucking make a word, you're fucking dead.
Yeah.
And they can hand out much better
But that's why
justice than
I
we
say,
can.
I tell that story all the time. I'm like, dude, he's an asshole, but I do think he knows how to get things done.
Oh, he is a problem solver.
Yeah, and that's that.
He is a problem solver.
Like I said, that story was an interesting one for me, where I was like, all right,
God damn.
but yeah, $5,000.
I like that though.
Yeah.
That's
Again, I think it goes along with knowing who's actually in charge. It's a very simple little thing.
Yeah.
I was told that we had big struggles in our academies in Japan, our golf academies, where one of our instructors went over there, and he would go to these meetings with the golf course, and these senior guys would kind of go to all the meetings, and all the way on down through the newer guys, the lower management. And these senior guys, these older guys who are still on the board, I think we should make this move. Oh, yes, sir. Yes, definitely. And it goes, and then a month later, nothing actually came of it. And they go to the next meeting, and the senior guy would go, oh, we think you should do that. Oh, yes, definitely. We should do that. And nothing ever came of it. And the guy who's the instructor, I'm not going to say his name, but, who works for our academy, but he goes, he went to one of the guys, middle management. He goes, whatever happened? I thought we were going to move forward. And he goes, oh, well, that's, he's like, it's a thing. You don't disrespect the elderly in public like that. So you just have to agree with everything that they say,
Yeah.
and it just culturally, you cannot disagree. So we agree with it. And then later on, we just decide in the separate meeting, what is actually going to happen.
What's actually going to work.
And he had to learn that. And before, he was like, I was just wasting my time and waiting for all this shit to happen. And
you
it
should have
never
wore an
did.
Oppenheimer shirt.
Oh,
I would have got the fucking point across more.
Ooh, boy. Yeah, that's a good for
Too soon.
Oh yeah, way too soon. Oh fuck. I don't know, man. No, I'm looking forward to the antics though. I am looking forward to it. I think Politico debates are hilarious. I think they're.
Well, did you
hilarious.
see Trump skip that one?
Did he?
Yeah, and he did his own podcast with Tucker Carlson. He went on his thing on Twitter, and it got like 175 million views.
I feel like that's a better move. I feel
Oh,
like
he stayed away from it. If you think of the last debate, that was my big pet peeve. We talk about like the insider, the
important
interest,
issues at
special
all.
interest.
None.
That was the debate was hilarious. Every single one of them that they did, the questions were literally framed to him like,
well,
they asked the question. They go, so here's all the bad crap that's gone on. Where do you feel like you went wrong? And I'm like, that's not bias at all.
Mm-hmm.
And then they turn to Joe and go, what would you do different?
Yeah.
And leave it open. Oh, I would do this different. Oh, hey.
No,
I'm like, this is the stupidest thing I've ever seen in my
The debate
life.
format, just
doesn't work.
Just like when you see the debate in school, where all of a sudden it's like one person speaks at hyper speed, throwing out as much shit at the other person that they can't respond back fast enough. You give somebody 2 minutes to make a point, you can't make a point. A lot of the issues are issues because it can't be fixed in 2 minutes. It requires a lot of deep thought and methodical precision to move things forward in any real way.
Right.
So when they're given 2 minutes to make a point, they're not even going to talk about it. They're going to take the question, say blah, 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 reframe it into something else, which doesn't answer the actual question.
No, it doesn't.
The 2-minute format doesn't work. We need to get away from that for debates. It needs to be long form interviews where they sit down with the person, they let them discuss their platform, and then you can do a debate afterwards, but you can't leave a 2-minute window to answer the question.
Well, yeah, because the debates turn into, like you said, like a high school argument.
Yeah.
It's like they start going at it, and all of a sudden the guy's like, well, he got more time. It turns into this, like, fucking, you don't learn anything about their views.
Yeah, that little
at all.
Well, that's, you know what they need to do is, like, I mean, they could literally just solve it with just almost like, you know when they're introducing like the football players where they have that frame where they're on the left side kind of holding, spinning a ball while it just gives all their stats.
Yeah.
It's just like, hey, just okay your stats. Like, tell me what you've done in politics, what you stand, and but they're just standing there like this, boom, 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 bunch of bullet points pop up, and then that's it. You just you watch it, read it, and go, all right, that's my guy.
Here's what I think would work. One, you need to do a long-form interview with each of the candidates. That way they can put out their whole platform. Second, 2 minutes to answer doesn't work. You need to give ample time to actually answer the question. And lastly, you need to stop them from redirecting the question. As soon as they start reframing and talking about some shit, no. This is the question.
Yeah.
We're answering the question. You're not going to reframe and direct your 2 minutes to some other shit that has nothing to do with the simple yes or no question. Answer the question.
Right.
That would be if there was an unbiased mediator.
I do believe that podcasts and just letting someone talk and explain their views is the best way. Because, like, a perfect example of that was Bernie Sanders.
Bernie Sanders.
I never would have listened to anything Bernie Sanders ever put out in his whole career. I always looked at him as like a weird wizard from the northeastern part of the United States, and I was like, I don't fucking relate to this guy at all.
He's that guy in that meme, right?
Yes, sitting on the part with the gloves. Yeah. Joe Rogan had him on for an hour, just an hour podcast. It was a short episode, and he had him talk, and I sat there and thought, holy fuck, he's not insane.
Old man makes a lot of sense.
I don't agree with everything he says, but he makes some good points.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan got me to listen to Bernie Sanders for an hour of my fucking life, and I don't regret it. I was like, wow, why don't all the politicians do this? Because that's the best way to get your views across.
Yeah.
So that way they're not just that weird guy arguing like a child up on screen.
Given time to actually put your views out there. But here's the thing. Bernie Sanders has had a lot of solid views for a very long time, and he's stuck with it. You can go back to like the 70s where you see him at marches, and he was there standing with the people like, no, you're right. You deserve better rights. You deserve more. Right. And he was there, where you see all these others that they were on the right side of history until it was the wrong side of history.
Yeah.
So some of it also comes down to just the politicians pandering to what is going to get them elected.
They'll say anything.
Versus actually having a legitimate final view on something.
Well, that's one of the things that I remember in marketing in college was, they're like direct mail, all those things.
Yeah.
They're just like, why do they still do that? I mean, everyone wonders, or why you get cold calls about shit. Who is actually buying this shit? It actually does work. Yeah. Like, because you can't believe it works. So for that same reason, I still remember when I was a kid and we were learning about politics, the most successful form of marketing yourself is just bashing your opponent. Yeah. And so it's really setting up to do just that. And you end up, because it's tragically, people buy into that more than the positive sense. Maybe we are shifting in society. Hopefully we're seeing that this doesn't work. And then we start really realizing, well, let me just focus on the positive and what I'm going to do versus, just how bad the other guy is. But
every
until
time
this point, it is that successful.
Every time I have that glimmer of hope that you're sprinkling out there, I realize that reality shows are still what dominates a lot of what people watch.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And that is probably the base form of human interaction. Ooh, people doing bad things. Let me just go and stare at the screen and actually do nothing except watch this absolute nonsense.
So the 2024 presidential debate brought to you by TikTok.
Yeah. The fact that that would have been perfect.
That would have been terrible.
The fact that we know people gravitate towards the negative because when you needed to in the wilderness, you needed to look out for the negative because that was your problem. Something bad needed to be handled right away or you were dead. We haven't quite lost that. And we know we haven't lost that, but there's tons of businesses and tons of people that cater to that fact because it makes them money.
Yep.
And that's really what
That's
it comes
really
down
the bottom line. That's really
Yeah.
the bottom line.
Catering to base human instincts.
Well, and that's the same way that, you know, in the news, it's just it's now a business, and it's the hurricane just went through, you know, the center of the state and messed some shit up, obviously, with the flooding. But you watch those spaghetti models, and it's always this where you go, and I think it's by region. I actually want to contact, you know, some friends in the Carolinas and maybe up the East Coast and see if it's different. But I'm like, I wonder. I saw someone share one.
Is Carolina getting Carolina?
No, but
It's
but
getting hit.
yeah, but or the spaghetti models where it goes. I'll do it for the camera. Where here's Florida. You know, we're down here in South Florida, and we're like, okay, yeah, it's gonna go like this. And then there's always two models, potentially circles back around and just nails West Palm.
I hate those people.
No, but again, I'm like that. That
I'm like,
keeps
who did
it.
that?
It's like, oh, you're not in the clear yet. Keep clicking away. Keep following this storm. And I'm like, that's bullshit. That's absolute bullshit. And I bet you, like I said, if you go by region, if I talk to some friends in the Carolinas or in Virginia or further up north, I'm like, are there models that they're clicking where it goes like this and goes,
no,
well, it could circle back and go that way?
That's the kid that never does his homework. That's that kid.
Yeah.
That's the kid that never did his fucking homework, and he just shows up, hey, John, where do you think it's going to go? Oh, boom.
No, that's the news.
Me.
That is the news. That's what
like,
I'm saying.
how?
Those two lines are just, they're like, all right, we have to report
It's
the news.
the
It
what
looks
if.
like it's going to go.
Yeah.
But keep it, come back tomorrow.
Just
Make sure
in
you
case.
keep an eye on
Make
this.
sure-
Just
Michael
in
Bay.
case.
Make sure you
Just
buy
for
your
you.
Not through the
groceries.
woods yet. Exactly.
Stock up on fuel.
Yep. Oh my God, I was, I buy bottled water just for the house, just because I don't just from the Publix things and everything like that. I felt like everyone stared at me at Publix because I was buying it on Wednesday, I think it was, when it was like still a day away, maybe Tuesday, Monday. I walk in and I just grabbed like 4 of them, and I'm like, I walk in and I saw 4 people's eyes look at me and just kind of like. Like, I'm like, this isn't for the storm. I buy these ordinarily.
This
Shut
is
up.
just water for
I
home.
know.
Yeah. You fucking doomsday
just do it.
prepper. You go into your bunker. What the
They're
fuck?
just like, you tourist.
yeah.
I'm like, no, I don't believe we're good. Oh, man.
There was one thing I did want to talk about because you did watch an episode of Ahsoka, but unlike me, you don't have a lot of the backstory from all of these characters.
Yeah.
So what I did want to get is an opinion from someone who likes Star Wars but doesn't have all the background on these characters. Do you even care what happened in this first episode?
It was like a setup episode. In fact, I mean, I remember being entertained, but at points kind of going like, this is dragging a little bit. And then, there was I don't know, some of the villains are, I mean, it seems like they're introducing. I think it's pretty cool. I'm excited to see where it goes. So I don't know. It's almost interesting to even hear you frame it that way, where you're like, oh, this, setting up their whole backstory. I'm like, I guess so. I don't have a lot of the past experience. Now, question is what we just witnessed in the first episode, did that happen in one of the cartoons already? Or is the cartoon set up and now we're picking up where the cartoon left off?
There was like a 1-minute scene that literally is the end of the Rebels cartoon where she goes up to the wall. So that live action scene there, they actually did do back at the end of Rebels.
Okay.
So a lot of what's happening here is off of Rebels and some of the stuff off of Clone Wars. So a lot of people are complaining like there's only female characters. Well, by the end of Rebels, a bunch of motherfuckers died. Like died, disappeared, blah, blah, blah. Like that's literally just where it had ended. So it's picking up right from where that show almost kind of left off. So for me, I had watched Rebels not too long ago, so I remember a lot of that stuff. So I know when they're talking about Ezra, when they're talking about Thrawn, like that's a bad guy. That's a guy I want to see come back. Like I know why these characters are not here in it at the moment, and you're dealing with just who's left, which is Ahsoka and the pilot, and that's really kind of about it for the most part, because everyone else is gone at the moment, and it's really a search for where all these other characters went, and even bringing in the Mandalorian and her being force sensitive was something they teased all through Rebels, and people were like, oh, everybody, no. Well, that was part of the character arc. They showed her back training with the Darksaber, with Jedi, and doing this and doing that, and then I'm like, she could do something if she stopped being so damn Mandalorian about it.
So they're trying to keep the whole universe relevant.
So like all of the stuff they're doing in it that people are complaining about, like to me, I'm like, yeah, but that's just because you didn't watch this other thing.
Yeah.
If you watch this other thing, you'd be happy this is happening. But since you didn't, you're talking about it in a way where I'm like, oh, you just don't know what's happening.
I guess I'm watching it from that blissful ignorance state where I'm like, I'm on the, but I mean, where I'm like, I definitely don't know enough about the universe that I would have cared. I'm just watching it for the show that it is. So, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So like, I don't have those complaints where like, I don't know. I'm just kind of following along, and I'm like, all right, seems pretty good. I'm going to watch the next episode.
It's interesting seeing kind of the divide where there's a bunch of people that are like, I'm enjoying this. I like where it's going because of having this. And then you have this weird chunk of people in the middle that are like really hating on it because they're taking a lot of it out of context without having some of the backstory. And then other people are like, we're just seeing where this is going.
What about the people that haven't seen it or aren't watching it? Where are they at?
What the hell is that?
Right there.
Oh,
Can I clean your glasses?
if you want.
It's really bothering me.
Is it?
So one of my pet peeves, I'm like, how are you looking at me right now?
I don't see anything.
Yeah, exactly.
That's why I wore them. I wore them specifically today.
I don't want to see this.
I don't want to see this shit. Thank you for watching us here at the Sofa Kingdom podcast, where we give you all the information you need to know on politics and world issues and Star Wars.
Oh, check out Nelson's Bright Side song.
Yep.
Oh, that's right.
Chief. That's a banger. I'm really proud of him.
He's doing good things.
Yeah,
He
he's
is.
doing really good stuff. And
Yeah.
Splash Valley. Is that,
Yep.
yeah.
Yep.
I like that guy's voice too. That
he's
song
good.
is.
We've
awesome.
had him on. He's really, he's a
Yeah?
nice guy. Yeah, big
I got-
anime fan.
Cool.
Big anime fan. Ed, where can they find us?
Sofa Kingdom OFC on YouTube. On YouTube, it's Sofa Kingdom Podcast.
A ditch.
I think we've been around long enough that if you just search Sofa Kingdom Podcast, we pop up.
Yeah, when I
think
try
we're
to share it, I always type in Sofa King, and now we're the first thing that pops up.
We're
So
in
we
the
are
algorithm enough.
We are in it.
Once I don't know how many episodes we had to hit, but now that we're over 100, we just pop up when we get searched
Yeah.
for.
Nice.
It's a nice little thing to see. Like, oh look, it's doing a thing.
Pretty soon we'll have a multiverse. There'll be a multiverse of the Sofa Kingdom podcast.
What's your special power?
Oh, I don't fucking know. Racism.
Cut it.